Zelos Podcast is sponsored by Kinetic IQ, where intelligence meets motion. Kinetic IQ brings a biomechanics lab into the palm of your hand, letting you measure movement anytime, anywhere, with just an iPad or an iPhone, and no wearables required. I've been using Kinetic IQ's markerless motion capture in my own practice, and whether you're screening athletes, analyzing posture and gait mechanics, optimizing performance, or guiding return to play, it helps practitioners like us save time, capture more objective data, and make instant actionable decisions. So to learn more about how Kinetic IQ is shaping the future of intelligent movement, visit them at kinetikiq.com. That's KINETIKIQ.com. You know, I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have Metabolic Elite be one of the sponsors of the Zelos Podcast. You know what makes Metabolic Elite different is their commitment to real results. I've seen a lot of supplements and performance enhancement things over the years, but they pair clinical experience with innovation, like Lipitab, their proprietary solid-state liposomal delivery system. It's a chewable format which enhances absorption, like nutrients like BPC 157 and synapses. They're delivered more efficiently in the body, supporting recovery, focus, cognitive health. Their formulas go beyond the basics, solving performance health challenges at the system level. Every product is tested for quality, it's backed by research, and trusted by athletes and clinicians alike. So learn more at metabolicelite.co. And you can get 10% off all of Metabolic Elite products by entering the coupon code ZELOS, Z-E-L-O-S. You're tuned into the podcast that's all about the pros behind the pros in sports. I'm your host, Rocky Snyder. This week, Giorgio Zucca is with me. He's the performance coach for the Detroit Pistons, from Milan, Italy to the U.S. and beyond. We're going to be having a great conversation with him. But before we get started, don't forget at the end of this month, basically in about a week or so, we're going to be at Fair Lawn, New Jersey for the Fascia Performance and Rehab Summit, March 27th and 28th. You can find out more information through the Fascia Training Academy, Parisi Speed School, Perform Better, or Alliance Orthopedics. They're all sponsors. Or you can go to my website, rockysnyder.com, for more information. Tom Myers, Bobby Stroop, Michelle Dalcor, a whole bunch of medical professionals, and then myself. We'll be all putting together some great information all about performance and rehab when it comes to fascia. So I hope to see you there. And in the meantime, check out my website for blogs, podcast archives, virtual consultations even. And now, enjoy the conversation. Giorgio, thanks for coming on the Zelos Podcast. I'm eager to have a conversation with you. So first of all, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here with you.
When I look at your resume, it's a little different, I must admit, than some of the other S&C coaches in the NBA and, for that matter, other professional organizations. You are Italian, obviously. It's just smell that wonderful Italian accent coming my way, like wafting like amazing food. But Milan, you did your studies in Milan. I see you've done some self-employment, private coaching, and then you get over to the University of Louisville and somehow get into the NBA, and now you're with the Detroit Pistons organization, strength conditioning coach with the D-League and so on. Like, give me the rundown, like how did this all happen?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So, I mean, it's been like a long journey, but I've enjoyed every step of the journey throughout the path, and that will be like I think like that's a big part of it. So like every step of the process had its own like difficulties and let's say difficult situation to face and like things to learn and but also all the part of like just like learning step by step in a new environment every time. That's what has kept everything, let's say, funny because like I think it's funny every time and every step in every new environment, trying to read the new environment, read the people that you're working with, read the new athletes, read what's going on, and trying to solve our personal and performance puzzles throughout the way.
Did you grow up playing basketball? Were your primary sports?
So I've grown up really playing like different sports, mainly. So basketball was the one that I was most passionate about. I've never been like a great talent basketball wise. Like I've always enjoyed playing the sport. I've played for my university, which is like. I mean, it's like it's not as much as important as playing for a university over here because like the university sports system is not as important and as built in the roots of the sport culture as it is over here. But like I've always enjoyed to play the sport. I love the sport of basketball, watching it, playing it. I've played a lot of soccer, like in amateur settings. Like just I've done like some soccer schools when I was a kid because like it's a sport that in Italy, like if you at least don't try the route of soccer at a certain point of your kid's life, like I mean, you have to pass from there if you are from Italy. I was very good at skiing, alpine ski. So I've practiced that a lot. Practiced some racing too. But then like the different paths in life brought me mainly on basketball. Basketball, not very talented, but I was very into like the sport and understanding at a certain point that there are pinning factors behind the basketball performance part, and so that's where everything led me.
Did you feel a little homesick watching the Winter Olympics recently?
I didn't watch much because I'm working a lot right now. We're in the
Sure.
full part of the season for both the G League and the NBA. So I've watched some videos on YouTube, some highlights around the internet. I didn't have really the time to dive into it, but like of course, like looking at some of the images is really like both of the places where like the Olympics have happened are a big part of my life because Milan is the city where I'm from and where I lived until I was 26 years old, from like 0 to 26 years old. And Cortina is a awesome place in the mountains. It's a UNESCO heritage. It's part of it, of the Dolomites, which is like a full UNESCO heritage park, mountain park in Italy. And I've been to ski in Cortina many times. It's an awesome place, very unique in this world. So, but I was happy to see that like my country had that role in these Olympic Games.
So, how did you manage to get over here? And did you apply to the University of Louisville? Did you have a network? Like, how did that come about?
So it's a great question because it's like the two, as you can imagine, the two networking environments between like Europe and United States are connected somehow because there are still some professionals that work, some European professionals that work in the US, some US professionals that work in Europe or in the Middle East. But it's a very, very separated networking environment generally. So it's very difficult, especially for a person that is coming out from the fresh from the university, finding his path straight to like another continent. But that's what I was like really interested about because like being in always love with the sport of basketball, having watched a lot of NBA, I've seen like Danilo Gallinari, Bellinelli make it to the NBA and looking at their path from distances. I've always been fascinated about like the basketball world in the United States. And growing up, like doing my exercise science university and everything else, like seeing sometimes the videos of how the professionals work in college over here or in the professional environment, the resources that are available over here in the States. For sure, we can say that there is a way more investment in the sport world in the United States. So if there is not like a different, I would say like there are many like great settings and professionals in Europe too. Don't get me wrong, The main difference that I felt also like after sometimes being here is that the amount of opportunities here is way more for sure, like having like both college and the professional environment. So and the opportunity that college gives you as a coach, I think, is big because coming here, I really didn't know like where to start, but like I knew about some people that from Europe had internship opportunities over in college, and that has been really my first try, which has been like a long and difficult try because I've sent over 40 emails to different colleges looking to apply for like internet like internships or internationals, but like it happens for many opportunities here. Sometimes there is always the difficulty of the visa, and so like there are some college internships that don't want to deal with like losing more time, let's say, to organize everything with the international student department, and so it can be tricky, really. So like it's even more important to differentiate yourself from other possible candidates and find good ways to do that. So like I made sure that when I applied to all the opportunities that I had, I at least like tried to differentiate myself somehow from the other candidates. That happened with the University of Louisville, and that's where my path started from an internship at the University of Louisville. So I was already working with the team and privately in Italy. So like my path from that standpoint has been a bit different than like a usual path. So like I was working full time in different like settings, but then like to kind of like find my way in a completely new environment. I kind of like stepped down and like went through the internship path, which has been great for me too. I have to say, like finding this way in a new environment.
Yeah, I bet it's been obviously culture shock, but also kind of an athletic shock too, by the way things are done here versus in Europe. So y- you you left Louisville and got a position with the Pistons. How did that come about?
So the Louisville has been like kind of like multiple sports path because like the internship at the start was with Olympic sports. So like as you might know, like in college usually you have Olympic sport, basketball and football. They are kind of like separated performance and as like for the facilities and for the staffs, they're very separated because I mean like football and basketball are the ones that usually make more revenue out of the college settings. And then there is also Olympic sport. So Olympic sport has been great to kind of like have that exposure that I was looking for at the start with like big teams, great coaches. I've been through their internship, mentorship. They're a really great staff over there. So like I found myself really in a great spot to start my path over there. But then I found the connection through the assistant director of Olympic sport, Chad Workman, who was like also the head for the internship of Olympic sport, the one organizing everything, a connection for basketball, where I had the opportunity to start with both men's and women's basketball teams of the university. And I stayed like 2 years there. So like totally I stayed like 2 years and a half in Kentucky and Louisville, and I love those 2.5 years. Then between the Pistons experience and that, I've been in Texas. So I've been 1 year at the Texas A&M Corpus Christi University. Is a
Ah,
mid-major Division One school. I had this opportunity to have a role as an associate director of performance over there for 1 year. I was already applying to kind of like different like MBA positions and roles because has always been my goal since I've arrived in the States to kind of like work in the professional basketball environment over here. But as you might know too, like sometimes the path to the final goals that we have can be like take different directions. And if an opportunity didn't come up that summer for my applications for different like G League opportunities, but it came one summer after. So like I stayed 1 year. It was great at the University of Texas A&M Corpus Christi. And after that year, the opportunity with the Detroit Pistons came. I came in contact with Rodrigo Alvira, who's a great coach from Spain. So he worked in college too, and I met him in different performance conferences that we were at. Talked to him. I had contact in the past with Corey Schlesinger, who's the head of performance over here with the Detroit Pistons. So kind of like we had conversations and interviews, and after some interviews, they came up to the decision to take me on board. And I'm very pleased and happy to be in this environment.
That's awesome, Giorgio. So usually with G League, Motor City Cruise, you guys are actually doing pretty well. You're heading toward the playoffs the way things are going right now. So knock on wood, it's good. But
Knock on wood, yeah.
usually those teams have less in terms of resources than the NBA, the first team, you might say. Which means that you often might find yourself doing more than just one role. So how many roles do you have with the Motor City Cruise?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's I have to say, like my previous experiences helped me a lot in kind of like heading into this role, because where I was before in Corpus Christi was kind of like a similar situation where like outside of being a strength coach for the basketball team, I still need to prepare the shakes for post practice, post game. So like it's kind of like not exactly the same situation here, but like still like as a performance staff, me, the head athletic trainer and assistant athletic trainer still need to organize ourselves to organize the meal for the guys too, because we have we have a full-time nutritionist that is working with the Pistons. So like she is very professional and has been really kind also like to kind of like organize presentation, educational presentation for our guys, but like she works full-time with the Pistons. So she doesn't work with us when we are like when Pistons are traveling, or like when we are in travel. So like that food part is let's say another hat that we need to wear as a performance team, me and the athletic trainers. So that is for example something else that is like ingrained in this role, in this setting. About like generally like dealing with like the whole team is something that I'm used to, because like I mean in Italy when I was working there, like Italy and Europe are very well known as like environments that like are lacking resources overall. So like it's every team has usually one strength coach. Even like the top teams, sometimes they have a full-time assist. Usually the EuroLeague, the biggest teams that compete in the EuroLeague usually have a head of performance, one head of performance and one full-time assistant most of the time. But most of the teams have one strength coach and maybe one intern or like a person that works with them. But like it's pretty common to, and the environment where I was working at, really like I didn't have many also training equipment available, but like we make it work.
Oh, I bet you do. I bet you do. So you're more than halfway through the season. I know NBA's got a couple months left, so G League or D-League just a little bit shorter of a season than that. But I gotta say, the Pistons are doing quite well, leading the East Conference right now. And so with Motor City Cruise, I know out here we've got the Santa Cruz Warriors, and Santa Cruz Warriors. The seats ticket sales are through the roof. It's just such a great environment locally to go. Do you guys have the same thing with Motor City Cruise? I mean, is it a pretty well packed house, or is it something that everyone just wants to go see Detroit? Like, what's it like there for you guys?
Yeah, that's in general, like I would say like our arena is not one of the biggest of the G League overall. It's like we play at Wayne State, which is a field house of a Division Two basketball team. So there's not many seats, but it's usually like for the weekend games it's pretty packed. For the non-weekend games, usually a bit less, especially with maybe like having the Pistons playing during the week. So of course, like having the G League team in the same city of the NBA team has and great advantages because like comparing my situation to some of my colleagues' situation, it's better in terms of resources specifically because like for example like we practice at the Pistons facility, so like for example specifically for our situation I can use the Pistons weight room, the Pistons testing tools, so
Nice.
there, it's great because like the integration between the G League team and NBA team is great. I have great colleagues too that allow me to kind of like float from like the G League lifts and practices to the NBA practices. I help always the NBA team when they are at home. I always help the NBA team too. So like outside of my G League duties, being in the same facility is so easy. As soon as we finish the practice or the lift with the G League, help also the Pistons for their lifts and for their like duties around practices and games, home games. So the great advantage of being in the same city is that one really. So you're really you're living with the NBA team. On the others, on the side of like the attendance, for sure is a bit less. So for example, G League teams when we've traveled, G League teams that are in a separate cities or like they play in a city where they are the only basketball teams playing. Of course, like I think they generally have a bit more attendance. So that's for sure.
So when you're on the road with the team, what is in your training bag? What kind of equipment do you take with you? Because most of the time you get to the hotel and the hotels will vary in regards to their
Mm-hmm.
equipment, their space, and so on. So what are the go-to items that you always travel with?
Yeah, that's a great question. So testing material, I always travel with the force plates. So like I have the opportunity to have a pair of force plate, which in my opinion is like really like I'm not so I'm big into the training side of things, but I love also like testing my guys throughout the season, and I think force plate, in my opinion, is the best tool. In general to test throughout such a dense season because it allows you to get maybe one or two jumps per game, and not only you can track for benchmarking, but you can track for fatigue. So with those 200 plus metrics that you get from the force plate, there are many metrics that you can use, especially temporal metrics, so linked to like time of execution, can really give good insights on acute fatigue. So you have not only like an idea of like when they maybe fall in chronic fatigue, but you can also have good tells on signs of acute fatigue, which is very useful for us to kind of like take decisions or give suggestions to the rest of the staff.
That's good,
And
though. I
for
like that. If you differentiate between the chronic and acute fatigue, like when those appear, uh, what do you do? Like, take me through. If you've got something that's acute fatigue, what's your next step? Who do you talk to? I imagine you're going to talk to the athlete, but you're going to talk to other stakeholders like the coach, the PT, the ATC. I mean, who's there? What's your path in regards to communication?
so for sure, like I think always a communication. I'm very lucky to work with my athletic the athletic trainer that works with me. We're usually on the same page on many things that we talk about, and that is very, very important, because then that brings a unity in the communication to the technical staff. Whenever we communicate to the technical staff, that happens always in a very direct and clear manner. But it's more like a situation where we communicate our point of view, and then the technical staff decides if they want to take that in big consideration, or if maybe they decide to take another direction. That is always depends also on the how they see the mental state of the guys. So we know that performance always is based on the physical aspect, the mental aspects, and so every time there is a decision around load management, I think for one of my past experiences too, is great to give a feedback, but then the ultimate decision makers is the technical staff. So that comes with it. In terms of what was the second question?
Well, the difference between the conversation you'd have if somebody was coming up chronically fatigued, there's some underpinnings there, whether it's a sleep pattern, if it's a prior injury, they're not fully rehabbed, something mentally is going on, compared to an acute situation. I'm just wondering the kind of conversation that you would have as a strength coach in your role. What would that look like when those markers come up on your force plates?
Yeah. So, for example, that was the first part of the communication. The second part, as you were saying, is more like a conversation with the athletes most of the time, because volume-wise, I don't think in this environment we never go crazy with volumes, as you can imagine. With this density of games, we always we want to load the guys. So one of the biggest mistakes I think sometimes of this environment is sometimes the tendency of saying okay, we have a high frequency of games, so we don't load, or we don't load we load zero. So there is a big difference also of choosing how to surgically decide to load the intensity and volume, and depending on the day and the situation, but at a certain point, at a certain point of the week, with a certain frequency, you need to load these athletes. That usually is not I would say for depending on our conversation too, and the conversation that I have with the coaches and everything, is not a pattern that usually causes those loss in acute fatigue. Usually the losses in acute fatigue are very linked to the things that you were talking about. So maybe sleep patterns, diet, or anything that can create discomfort in the routine sequence of these athletes. So the great difficulty of these environments is maintaining a solid routine throughout this long season.
Well, the nice thing is too, you're centrally located. You're not on either coast, so you're not dealing with the full time zone swings that, say, an East or West Coast team might have when crossing country. You're only dealing with maybe an hour or two at the most. So in terms of circadian rhythm, it's not going to throw them off. It'd be more like just the game time and when can they get the sleep and the travel time. Do you travel mainly by plane or by bus, or would you say it's pretty much 50-50?
Yeah, I was about to say, I would the points that you touch are very important, meaning that the frequency is not as much as the NBA, but it's almost as the NBA, because in the end, throughout the whole year, playoff excluded, we play 50 games. So, and many times we have a back-to-back. So that's something that they happen to play in the NBA, but in the NBA is a bit more rare maybe to find a back-to-back. While in the G League, you find a lot of back-to-backs, because when you go to play another G League team, usually you play the back-to-back a lot of times. So the back-to-back is pretty typical. And the travel organization is great. Like our director of operations and our front office does a great job organizing everything, but everything is organized commercial. So like, I mean, the bus, when we travel by bus, we travel by ourselves, but when we travel by plane, we don't travel like the NBA that they travel with their own plane and with their own times. So we fly commercial, and that also like especially like the athletes that are experiencing maybe like the two-way contracts and some NBA assignments that we have throughout the year. They notice the difference between flying private and flying commercial on the long run. So like even like in those differences and situations, they feel the difference and they notice the difference, even if it sounds like a bit like maybe like cheesy for most of the people. If you think about like a really long season and how much they play, you gotta like kind of like immerse yourself in that type of situation, and then because in this situation you really need to look at like the smallest things that change their routines.
We're just going to take a quick pause from this conversation to acknowledge our sponsors, and then we'll be right back. The Zelos Podcast is sponsored by Kinetic IQ, where intelligence meets motion. Kinetic IQ brings a biomechanics lab into the palm of your hand, letting you measure movement anytime, anywhere with just an iPad or iPhone. No wearables required. I've been using Kinetic IQ in my own practice, and whether you're screening athletes, optimizing performance, or guiding return to play, it helps practitioners like us save time, capture more objective data, and make instant actionable decisions. So to learn more about how Kinetic IQ is shaping the future of intelligent movement, visit kinetikiq.com. That's KINETIKIQ.com. At the forefront of metabolic elite is Jim Lavelle, internationally recognized clinical pharmacist, a chief science officer at Lifetime, and the co-chair for the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. He's got over 4 decades of experience and has guided Olympic athletes, professional teams, and leading health institutions. You know what makes Metabolic Elite different is their commitment to real results. Like Lipitab, their proprietary solid-state liposomal delivery system. It's a chewable format which enhances absorption like nutrients like BPC 157 and synapses. They're delivered more efficiently in the body, supporting recovery, focus, cognitive health. Their formulas go beyond the basics, solving performance health challenges at the system level. Every product is tested for quality, it's backed by research, it's trusted by athletes and clinicians alike. And you can get 10% off all of Metabolic Elite products by entering the coupon code ZELOS, ZELOS. You bring up an interesting point in terms of the difference between NBA and development league, is that in terms of travel. But what about in terms of like the weight room and programming? With your experience thus far, going up and working with the Detroit NBA team and then Motor City Cruise, what would you say if you could stand back as just an objective observer, and what do you see as the difference? And what I mean by that is, like, in the weight room, is there a different heightened level of focus in one of those environments? Is there more conversation or more seriousness? Is there a difference in the programs as they're designed? I mean, I could see that being a little bit just because of scheduling, but like ultimately, what are the main differences there?
Yeah, great question. First I want to add the two, because then it seems that like I only bring with myself the force plate, but I bring with myself as other tools for training, and that's part then of the programming too. A big part of let me turn on the lights 1 second because it's getting dark over here. All right. So a big part is the post-game lifts. So like in these environments, one thing that in common for the NBA and the G League, especially in our organization, is this concept and building the culture of the post game lift, because we all think that like with this density of schedule, choosing when to load, so like that concept that we were saying before, the post game is always a great situation because so yeah, they've played a game. We know that they've gone really hard that day, and so we can go hard in the weight room too. So always in the measure, because like then of course like people ask themselves like then they go super hard. Now it's like a lift that is usually like 20 minutes maximum. Is a very selected amount of exercise that we load usually. So like it's short because the selection of the exercise is not big, but it allows us to load those patterns. So like it's easy from a warm-up standpoint because they just finished the game, so they're warm. And as a kind of like deal with the guys is always easy because we're saying, okay, we're getting this done. It's not gonna take long, and tomorrow you can take the day off if you've played a lot. So like instead of like making you come back tomorrow to lift again, usually like they're pretty happy to say like, okay, let's do it, and then we're not gonna take care of it tomorrow, and we take care to rest, like we rested.
I could see the post-game lifts being primarily complex bilateral movements, just because you've got their entire body electrified from the game. So squat, deadlift, counter movement jumps, those type of things, and maybe a little bit of upper body, a little push and pull. Just keep it simple. But my question's this, Giorgio, is what's the time frame between the end of the game to the post-game lift? Is it immediate? Do you allow any time in between? Is it 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour? Like, what is the typical, and have you found the sweet spot? Have you found it, like, if we go immediately off the court to the weight room, that's going to be giving us the best benefit compared to letting these guys shower, change up, get some new clothes on, and then hit it?
Yeah, I mean those are the parts that are really not controllable usually, because like of course when the game finishes there is always like the coach talking in the locker room, so like that has to happen, but like that doesn't take really that long usually. So like and the coaches know that the culture from our standpoint is like that too, so like they do a great job of like kind of like make the communication clear with the guys at the end of the game, either if it's like post-win or post-loss. And that helps a lot because like then making the communication direct and quick helps the flow, because like right after the coaches talk, so they know that they gotta go to the weight room, or in my case to lift with me at our home facility, or if we are away with the tools that I brought away in my bag, and with the tools that like the way teams provide. So like and usually the process doesn't take that long for that reason too, because like they want to knock it out as soon as they can, in the best way in the best way possible, because like of course like they know that we care about quality of movement, so of course like everything is quality, but of like making it efficient, let's say. So and the way the things that helps a lot is like of course like that collaboration between strength coaches is kind of like in a unwritten professional deal where like we know that like we like when we find tools available when we are away, and we try to provide as much as we can when people are coming over and play in our home. So I mean, NBA has a deal where like every team has to provide an away team weight room that can be used for activation or post-game lifts. So like that is a whole another setting. So like I mean, our I didn't travel with the NBA still, but like our away team weight room at the Little Caesar Arena is gorgeous. I mean, like you have everything you can ever need. In the G League setting is a bit different, of course. So like we try to provide the bread and butter. So mainly a pair of adjustable dumbbells. You can do whatever you want. You can load if you want to load. You can activate if you want to activate. And then we provide, for example, every G League team has a deal with Anchor, which is like an adjustable cable that you can attach everywhere. So that helps a lot too. So sometimes I use it myself. If I don't use it myself, I provide it for the away team. So those kind of situations, we always try to talk to the strength coach of the away team and try to ask like, what do you need, and try to find like the best thing that we can provide to the away team too.
And so with activation, do you have maybe 2 or 3 favorite activation drills for professional basketball players? Like, what are yours that you're always going to say, okay, guys, let's hit these? Or are you constantly rotating?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say we're talking about game activations, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, game activations seems like we make it usually for groups of like 2, 3 players at a time, so that they activate with me and then they get on the court. So we always start like 1 hour and a half before tip off, so that they get like really like that hour, the full hour, 1 hour and a half before. Um, and I always found the sequence with like first maybe a couple of like loaded mobility, light loaded mobility into a short block of speed things. So the, like something that like takes maybe like some skipping patterns, some ballistic patterns, maybe with the med ball. And I always let them choose. Depending now, they kind of like know the system after at this point of the season. I always give them the choice of saying like, do you prefer, like, do you feel like today you want to go more for like a lateral speed drill or for more like a sagittal? I don't tell them sagittal speed drill, but like more like you prefer some like speed in line or like some lateral speed, and then we go out of that and they choose whatever they feel is more useful for them for the day. So like always like I feel the conversation with the player, because then of course you have guards, bigs, and sometimes the hips are more tight, and sometimes the ankle is more tight, and sometimes other parts of the body are more tight. So like they're really always I always want to keep like a short block for like loaded mobility and a short block for speed patterns. But in the realm of those 2 blocks, I give them a lot of freedom of like patterns to choose.
And do you do any kind of joint screening movements, like just to understand if it's their hips on one day, their shoulders or T spine on another, it's their ankles on another, or are you just watching them move and going like, okay, we're gonna just pause here and we're gonna get some ankle movement going on right here, or man, the way you're cutting right now or the way you're jumping, we need to open up those hips a little bit more. I mean, like, how do you go about that? Do you do it on the fly in real time, or is there more of a methodology behind it?
Yeah, of course. Is I would say it's more on the fly things for the area of the body. Meaning, like I see them how they move, and then depending on it, I ask them to, and then I decide on the path to take. Of course, also like I think depends a lot on the distributions of the games and the practices the day before the game. So if there is a certain type of distribution, I can expect some type of like general tightness or local tightness depending on the player. So like if it's a players that has be more tendency to have stiff ankles on the second day of a back to back, I know that I need to work on like a bit more the ankle, that dorsiflexion mobility, or maybe some holds. just like to kind of like warm up the area and make sure that like we are ready to go. And in that realm, whenever I think it that way, I think it's important to, and that's why I always put that like mobility block and then a speed block. I think it's important not only to warm up in the localized area in a slow manner, but I think it's always crucial also to kind of like give the speed, give the range at a higher intensity in terms of speed. So like that is always important. Whatever is the choice, whatever is the area, we can decide to make like a more like let's say hip-based speed movement, or like more like an ankle hop if we want to like warm up the ankle. But like everything is decided also in a speed manner, depending on like where is that tightness related or like that discomfort related.
Right on. Okay, now as the season's progressing, we're getting near the end of the season. What are the biggest changes in your world in regards to whether it's programming or anything? Like what is the biggest change that is transitioning right now as you get toward playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, so for the G League, it's almost time. In meaning that, like as you were saying before, like we're on the last months. We're really on the. Also, like I think it always depends on the type of situation and the matchups. So like it's something that like in this period of the year, I'm trying to kind of like really like program everything based on the schedule, just on the schedule and not on the opponent. In the past, for example, at the start of the season and in previous situations like college situations, I've always followed the advice of also one of my Italian mentors, who's Carlo Busichelli. He has wrote an important book on periodization with Tudor Bompa. And he has prepared also not only track and field but also soccer. And he was thinking about loading patterns also depending on, like, of course, like the team goal and the opponent that you're gonna face. So like if you're gonna face a game that you can win, like then like the programming decisions are going in a certain way. When you know that there are like different type of patterns and opponents that you know they're going to be difficult or easy, that also becomes another like difficult loading pattern. So like if we're against like I repeat, like right now every game matters. So like in this case I only program as like every game is a difficult opponent, because like it's the end of the season and we are right on the border of like making it to the playoffs or not making it to the playoffs. So that this criteria doesn't come in play. But like in for example at the start of the season or in other like college situation, like the thing that like always took in consideration is also like if I know from the technical stuff and other conversations that that is an opponent that like we're kind of like beat no matter what, the loading patterns are going to be a bit more higher. And then if it's like an opponent that like we see like, I don't know, it's a 50-50, or even like it's maybe like a very tough opponent to beat. I don't know, it happened like in the past also with A&M Corpus Christi. We were playing Texas A&M. So like in that case, it's like we won that game I don't know how, but it was like clearly like a tough matchup. So like so whenever there is that like difference between like forces from the start of the game, all those things need to be taken in consideration, I think, like in a big picture.
So does that mean that you're going to be more conservative when the games matter the most, or are you going to be more aggressive when the games matter the most? I mean, like when do you know that, okay, we need to really ramp this up? This is, or these guys don't need more load right now. We need to back it off. Like, which is it?
Like in those type of situation, I always go like whenever it's closer to the 50-50, it's the less aggressive.
Okay.
Because
Got
like
it.
everything, even the smallest part can push it one way or the other one, depending on like residual fatigue. That could be like central nervous system fatigue or peripheral fatigue. Like every small detail can push it one way or the other. But when you have like an 80-20 or like a 20-80, when you are in that
Sure.
situation, one thing that I was thinking like in this specific G League situation, I didn't have many times to do this decision because the whole G League situation is very particular, and I would say that like it's really difficult to find those such polarized matchups. So like you always are floating between like I would say 40 and 60. Like I mean, of course there are like some teams that are like more in general like they're higher, some teams that are lower, like every league. But like there is I would say like as much as more than any other league that I've worked in the past has this chance of like everybody can win against everybody.
Right on. Well,
Like
well said.
NBA is a complete different situation then.
Yes. Yeah. No. It's yeah. With the development league, it seems like everyone's a little bit more even. Uh, okay. How about this, Giorgio? I got some rapid fire questions. Are you up for them?
Good.
Okay. Evidence or experience? Which weighs more when you make a decision?
Uh, that's a very difficult one. I'm a super 50-50 on this one, but I would say experience depending on the setting. Like if it's a decision that depends on the setting, it's the experience related to the setting. If it's more like a return to play decision or a decision based on testing results, evidence based.
Right on. Okay. Deadlift. A cue you can't live without. A deadlifting cue, coaching cue.
Or the lifting coaching to push against the word.
Okay. Most overrated performance metric right now.
Most overrated performance metrics right now. Uh, I would say slow strength numbers.
Okay. Well, very cool. All right.
Slow strength,
Favorite?
we kind of take in consideration like heavy, slow strength training. So like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not important. It's like a crucial part of every program, but sometimes it tends to be like taken as like from the strength and conditioning world as one of the most important things to chase for every athlete.
Sure. I totally understand what you're saying. How about your favorite assessment that almost no one uses?
Um, hmm. I mean, I would say I've had the opportunity to learn from my one of my previous mentors, Adam Petway at the University of Louisville, this aspect of like really observing how the athletes move on the court. So like I'm not saying that like nobody uses it, but like I would say that like sometimes there is the tendency, and I had a tendency in the past to rely mostly on like just the numbers. So like I get the number with the test and that's it. It's of course like a crucial part to film as much as we can, I think, and to observe how our athletes move and how they achieve certain outputs. So like it's not only a matter of the output, but it's a matter of the strategy on how they reach that output. So like I think making videos and observation are crucial in my practice.
Right on. How about most common mistake coaches make with athletes?
Most common mistake that coaches make with that is um, over queuing.
Okay. How about one training concept you think should disappear forever?
One training concept. One training. Oh, I mean, in a very general way, the continuous research for the conditioning piece, meaning conditioning, I think, is a very broad and important topic, and it's also in this case very important to increase the capacity of athletes in the different, especially with some sports. But if we're talking about, let's say, team sports in general, I would say that research for general conditioning can be sometimes a bit overused, let's say, in some settings.
Okay, two more questions. Books or podcasts? Which gets you into the zone?
I'm a big book guy, but the podcasts recently with increasing the amount of less time off, more responsibilities, bigger roles, be in new environments, and so I would say the podcast now help me a lot in starting the podcast while I'm doing something else, and kind of if I'm doing something I don't know, menial that I don't have to put my attention on, do the laundry, do stuff at home, I put on a podcast so that I can pay attention to what I'm listening to, and kind of I can do it whenever I'm doing, or when I'm in the car. Podcasts are big for that. They can keep you updated, and they make you save a lot of time.
Right on. Okay, last question. What's the first thing you check when you walk into a training session?
I would say, first of all, the how the athletes receive the instructions and information. So I think especially in these settings where the question that you asked before, when you are one person with 15 athletes, when you're one person that has to coach a bigger group, sometimes the question is always around how you deal with the session. But I think as much as that is important, which is very important, the first part is making sure that they understand the goal of the session. So where you want to go with them, why they're doing those things that they're doing. So not only explaining the exercise, but explaining the goal of the exercise and how you want them to perform that exercise, because that helps a lot in what comes after. I think if the athletes understand why they're doing something, it's less difficult during the session to kind of check on everybody and have 1,000 eyes everywhere. So that helps a lot for sure.
Fantastic. You nailed that. That's great, Giorgio. And I can't believe, again, I say it almost every time, but the time flies here when you're having a good conversation. And if people want to follow you, I know LinkedIn is one place they can find you. Do you post things on Instagram work-wise, or do you have research papers? How can people learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. They can reach out to me anytime. I have LinkedIn, Instagram. Usually my Instagram is pretty up to date with my experiences, and LinkedIn. And then they can write me anytime if they have any questions on the things that we talked about in this podcast, or anything that they've seen around me on my email, working email, gzucca at pistons.com.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time and really enjoyed the conversation. You gave me a whole bunch of things to think about.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here.
And there we go, another episode in the books. Cannot thank Giorgio enough, and for that matter, the Pistons organization, for allowing this podcast to happen. Remember, I know you've got choices when it comes to sports podcasts, and I really want to thank you for tuning in and listening. Be sure to tell a few other friends, and if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, wouldn't you mind just do yourself a little favor. Just take that finger and hit that button one time. Remember, we're going to be in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, March 27th and 28th for the Fascia Performance and Rehab Summit. Join us there. You can go online to performbetter.com and sign on up. It's not too late. I hope to see you there. And remember, you can check out my website anytime you want, rockysnyder.com. I just want to hear from our remarkable sponsors just one more time. You guys have a great week. remember to check out metabolicelite.co. Check out all the products they have on their website. Synapsin Pro is something I've been using to help stay focused without having to over-caffeinate myself. It keeps me in the zone so I can just really hone in on the things I need to achieve without feeling like, man, I gotta reach for an energy drink every 5 minutes. Metabolicelite.co. And don't forget, Kinetic IQ. They've got markerless motion capture for morons like me. I can use their product with my iPhone or my iPad. I can look at posture analysis, movement analysis of any exercise, gait analysis. It gives me everything I could possibly want when tracking people's movements. So, check out kineticiq.com.